Thanks for staying with us. It's been a wild roller coaster week in the world of politics. Donna Brazile dropped bombshell after bombshell about running the Democratic Party during Hillary Clinton's doomed presidential campaign. And of course, Alabama's Republican Senate nominee, Roy Moore, now facing late-in-the-game accusations that he initiated a sexual encounter with an underage girl back in 1979. Joining us now, great panel from Boston, Adriana Cohen, the columnist with the Boston Herald. From Atlanta, Bruce Lavelle. He was the executive director of the National Diversity Coalition for Trump. And from Chicago, my old friend, Jim Warren, chief media writer for the Poynter Institute. Jim, I already told everybody about the co-host from Hell Story, so that's already off the... That's already out there.
Thanks. If you've told them that, can you now assure them that our 5 combined children weren't listening to you opine about Louis C.K.?
Exactly. So, Jim, tell us about let's start with this Roy Moore thing. We're not going to do Louis C.K. here probably, but Roy Moore, the Alabama race, what happens? I mean, a lot of people saying Mitch McConnell never should have gotten involved in this because it probably would have gone to someone like a Mo Brooks, who's a kind of just a run-of-the-mill conservative down there, very popular. But McConnell got involved, and the establishment came in, and they basically handed it to Roy Moore.
Yeah, the question is, who defeats him? I see him in the United States Senate, if this is all that we know. I mean, if 10 other women come out of the woodwork and claim things. But, I think this is certainly a news story, but given the politics of that state, I think he's pretty much a lock as long as, he denies what happened. I mean, maybe a few years ago things would have changed. It's interesting. Real quickly, I was listening to a lecture by a theologian tonight who mentioned in passing the dramatic changes since the two of us were debating on cable news 20 years ago, the Clinton and Broderick stuff that you alluded to earlier. But dramatic change in attitudes of Americans when it comes to the personal conduct of public officials, and how this was a theologian saying that atheists in this country now place a higher priority on personal misconduct, personal behavior of politicians than do evangelicals.
Yeah.
But I don't think much is going to happen. I think he's going to be in the U.S. Senate.
Adriana, let's go to you. This was 39 years ago, a long time ago, right at the end of this very contentious Senate campaign. What's the sense that you get here? Is this something that will, as some Republicans are saying, going to hurt the Republican Party going forward? If he, as Jim's right, he wins, he's in the Senate, but that scandal will be used to kind of beat all these other Republicans over the head with, and their races in 2018.
You're right. I think it's all going to hinge upon whether or not more possible women come forward. If no more women come forward making these types of allegations, and it's his word against these his accusers, then maybe he can get by. But if I looked at a recent polling, he's now tied Roy Moore with his Democrat opponent. They're both at 46%. So even if he is not removed, if he doesn't resign, he's still facing a tough challenge right now. So this is still very much an uphill battle.
Bruce, what's your sense here? The allegations are obviously sordid. I think we have to say you can't disprove a charge when it's made. You can't disprove it. If you're a man or a woman, something 38 years later, you did that. Well, you can't disprove it. It might have happened. It might not have happened. But you can't disprove it. You can't prove it. But the charge is out there, and it's political now. It's not legal. It's political. What's your sense?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Well, I've been thinking about that. I actually prayed about this before I came on your show because, it's so unfortunate that these allegations came out, and I hope they're not true. And you saw what the president tweeted about that, if they are, Judge Roy would do the right thing. But, Laura, the interesting thing about this, about Judge Roy Moore, is everyone knows that he's a devout Christian. He professes Christ as Lord and Savior. And so he knows that responsibility if he's not being truthful or whatever, what his accountability is going to be, which is, of course, who he's going to have to answer to. But, I do say this, and I say this cautiously. This is very new, that these charges or allegations came up. I hate to say the word charges. So I say stay tuned. But everyone, just pray for everyone that's involved in this. And, the great state of Alabama, the people of Alabama are going to come through. They're going to prevail, and they're going to do what's right when they vote December 12th.
Yeah.
And, the other thing, too, is I tell all the Republicans, don't panic. Just pray for Judge Roy, just pray for the party. and just be diligent, you know,
Well,
this is
let's
going
say,
to play
like,
itself
Bruce,
off,
Democrats
like play
never
itself
throw
out
their
eventually.
people
So I'm very
overboard.
optimistic.
Yeah, they never throw their people overboard. They stay with their guys during federal bribery trials. I mean, Chuck Schumer, you can't find him to say Menendez should step aside. He's in the middle of a
Right.
trial, for a federal crime. He could go to
Right.
jail for, I don't know,
Right.
Jim, 10 years, something like that. I mean, that's a long time.
Laura, I got two words for you. Anthony Weiner. How do you explain that?
Yeah, exactly. No, I'd rather not think of that on a Friday night.
No, that's the Democrats throwing one of theirs overboard.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it took a little time there. Let's remind everybody what happened this week with Donna Brazile. These are some of the Brazile greatest hits of the week. Let's listen.
People who were making the decisions, even for the DNC, they didn't come and work with us. They told us to shut up and basically let them win the election. For those who are telling me to shut up, they told Hillary that a couple of months ago. You know what I tell them? Go to hell. I'm going to tell my story. It was a cult. I felt like it was a cult. You could not penetrate them. I used the word rigged. I did not like the cancer, okay? I call it cancer.
Adriana, I'll say they don't throw one of their own overboard unless it's Brazile throwing Clinton overboard or the Clintons now going after Donna. Very quickly, I want to get a quick take from each of you.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, look, the bombshell she dropped is just incredible. I mean, Donna Brazile is a prominent Democrat. She's, you know, a loyal foot soldier for the Democrat Party for decades. And for her to tell the American people, especially Democrats, that, you know, the Hillary Clinton campaign did indeed rig the primary against millions of Bernie Sanders supporters. I mean, this is outrageous. I mean, who needs Russia when Democrats are rigging their own elections? I'd like a Democrat to explain that.
Bruce, pithy.
Well, you know, I was thinking about this. You know, Laura, imagine if, God forbid, Hillary won the election. Where would Donna Brazile be now?
In the White House? Probably in the White House.
Would the book be out? Would the, you know, it's hard to give any credibility to Donna because, you know, one thing about it, being a former chairman of a party here in Georgia, you know, meddling in with the primary is very dangerous for the party. It's very dangerous anywhere across the country when you have several candidates in the primary and the leadership starts to favor one when there's several in the primary is a detriment to the party itself. It actually destroys the party. So essentially that's what happened to the DNC. You know, they got in there and Clinton infiltrated it and got in bed with a lot of the folks in there, pushed Bernie to the side, pushed others to the side, when the party should vet itself through by the people, for the people, Democrat or Republican.
All right, let's get Jim last word. Jim, last words. We're out of time here.
Quickly,
Jim, does this do any lasting damage to the Democrat Party?
No, and it's part and parcel a little bit of a civil war, but this is mostly personal. Here's you know, revenge is a dish best served cold. I don't think this is terribly ideological. This is someone pissed off because a bunch of millennial kids in Brooklyn weren't returning her calls, and because she was the head of the Democratic National Committee, and as you know as well as anybody, those committee structures have gone basically bye-bye. They're dated. Yeah. She was unhappy that she wasn't getting the respect she thought she deserved. And having said that, my 8-year-old has a 7:30 a.m. soccer game Saturday. I fully assume tomorrow that she'll be there hawking that book.
All right, guys, thanks so much. Have a great weekend. And up next, the president's critics claim he's